Today we will learn how to draw the magical, ever-changing chameleon. Art with Miss A. Hi everybody, I missed you all. So you know the routine. We're going to fold our piece of paper in half, meeting up the corners and making a nice crease by holding down with one hand and pushing firmly with the other. Then we match up our other two corners and do the same, making a second crease. When we open it up, we'll have 4 equal sections. There we go, holding down our paper. I always like to flip over the paper if the creases are making the paper fold up. So now that we have our paper folded, we need to gather our materials for drawing: a pencil, an eraser for making any erasure marks that we need, and a black permanent pen. Make sure it is permanent. Sharpie is good. There are other brands. So we are going to use the paper going horizontally, which is long ways going left to right. And we are going to use the horizon line, or that line we folded in the middle. And we're going to draw a line from about halfway in section 1 and section 2 and draw a straight line going across. You can always make the line longer if you need to, but we're going to be breaking down our chameleon into basically 2 major shapes. This one is going to be a quarter of a circle, so you're just going to draw a line from the line you drew up to the middle line and then a line down, which makes sort of like a quarter of a pie shape. And I'm going to round off that one corner for the tip of the nose of the chameleon. Good job.
All right, the next shape we're going to do is the body shape, almost like the head shape, only we're going just a little bit further down on the head, and we're going to make a piece of a pie in the first section, just like we did in the second section, only this one's just a little bit further down from the head, and you're going to go right to the center of the page in the first section, and that is the body shape. Good job. All right, so now we're going to do the tail of our chameleon, which is going to be in the third section, and it's going to be sort of like a swirl. You're going to make a line from the back side of the chameleon up a little bit on that first section, and on the body you're going to bring the line around and down and spiral in to itself, and then you're going to go around that same line and follow it back to the body of the chameleon, and that is so that the tail is has some thickness to it, so we can do some pattern work on that. Good job. So now we have the head, the body, and the tail. Now we're going to make our feet of our chameleon, and we're going to do that in the fourth section where it meets up right in the center of the page of the paper, and you're going to make sort of like a loop, and that one's going to go towards the angle of the corner of that paper. So that one goes going down and around right in the center, and now we're going to make the back leg going the opposite direction, sort of down near the tail, a little bit in, and make that same shape, that loop-de-loop shape. All right, so good job. Now we are going to do the tongue of our chameleon. Chameleons have really long tongues. So we're going to make that same shape that we made for our tail, but we're going to do it going the opposite way in section 2, going up instead of down. So you're going to go right at the bottom of your chameleon and bring your line going up, but it's also going to be moving in a circular motion and swirling out and back in. This one we're not going to make thick. We're just going to keep spiraling it, so you can keep going with that one. Good job. All right, now we need to make an eye on our chameleon. I like to make a circle kind of at the top area of the head, and I make a circle in the middle for the pupil. Now, if you make the pupil going up, it'll look like the chameleon is looking up. If you bring that second circle down at the bottom of the circle, it'll look like it's looking down, or mine's just looking straight ahead. All right, so now I'm adding patterns to my tail and to the body of my chameleon that will section off, and I'll get to color with color crayons once I outline it in my black Sharpie pen. Good job. So the next step is to get your Sharpie pen, and you're going to outline all of the lines with pencil with a black permanent pen. And the reason being, I'll tell you later, if you're going to do my second tutorial part of this and not color the background, you're going to definitely need to use a Sharpie. So a permanent black pen or Sharpie will work. And I'm outlining all of my pencil lines, trying to keep as close to the line as I can that I drew in pencil, and just outlining everything nice and neat.
All right, so now that I've outlined all of my chameleon in black and erased any of those pencil lines, I'm now drawing in the background and what the chameleon is actually resting on, which is a tree branch. So now I'm drawing some leaf shapes, which look kind of like long footballs. And I'm just creating a design on the background in pencil. And I'm doing this very quickly by drawing stems and then leaves, and you can do whatever you want and do whatever background you might want to do, just a sun and maybe some flowers. But I'll show you what I'm going to do. You can color this in, do the black lines, the Sharpie pen around your pencil lines with the leaves, and then erase and then simply color with color crayons. Or we're going to do another type of technique today, which I will show you in a second. But here I am just drawing my leaves, and then I'm coloring it in. Now I'm picking bright colors and patterns to do my chameleon with color crayons, and you can choose what other color, warm, cool, patterns, both. And before I go on to the next step, I'm going to add a little bit of glue, about a tablespoon of glue and a tablespoon of water, and mix it in a container that you're going to use to do the next step. Now, you can use green colors to color in your leaves, or I'm going to show you this really cool thing called decoupage. That glue and water mixture, I had a great idea. I got a gift from a friend and it had some green tissue paper in it. So I decided I'm going to recycle this and use it to fill in the background of my chameleon. So getting out a pair of scissors, I decided to cut that lime green tissue paper into strips and then into squares. And I was going to now decoupage them on the background of my chameleon. And now I've got my mixture. I'm using a paintbrush. This one's called a fan brush. You can use any brush. And just simply putting the glue mixture on top of my leaf drawing. And you have to use a permanent pen. Otherwise, this will actually end up smearing the black ink. So it has to be permanent. But can you see how I'm layering the different pieces of tissue down onto the paper with the decoupage, which is 50% water and 50% Elmer's white glue. And I'm just layering down. I found some dark green old tissue that I had, and I decided to layer that as well to give it some more depth and make it interesting to the eye. The composition, meaning the overall look of my piece. And I'm going to continue doing that until the whole background is covered with my decoupage and my tissue paper, layering some light over dark, some dark over light, and you will see how it looks. Just about finished with covering the background with light green and dark green tissue paper with my decoupage, half glue, half water mixture. And I'm going to let that dry completely before I go to the next step. I have done a second version and it's dry, and I want to show you, I was showing you the paint I had all over me. I was doing an art project before. But you're going to turn over the paper, and wherever you see green tissue, you're just going to trim it off with a pair of scissors. Clean up those edges. And it's easy to do because you can use the white paper as a reference and just take your time turning the paper from edge to edge. And that way, when you're decoupaging, you don't have to be so precise on the edges. You can just let it dry. And then when it's dry, it's really easy just to trim off with a nice pair of scissors. So now I am going to add some paper flowers that are three-dimensional by cutting and folding them. And I'll show you how to do that. So the first group of flowers I'm going to show you are 4 flowers where you're going to take one piece of colored paper and fold it like we do when we draw the iguana or any type of animal. And you're going to draw 3 shapes, one large, medium, and small. Then you're going to take your scissors and cut those shapes out. And when you're done cutting, you will see that you'll have 4 of each shape because you had folded your paper into 4s. Remember that when you're cutting to be careful, and that also you need to turn the paper, not the scissors. That's the key to cutting paper out. And you're going to cut 3 shapes, one large, one medium, and small out of that same colored paper. Take your time, follow the black lines, and you will have 4 ready to make flowers. So I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to take the largest of the petals of the flower and make some sort of line design. I'm making lines that are radial, like a bicycle wheel spokes, and by basically making a dot in the center and then drawing lines through it all around your petal. That is one pattern for my flower. Then I'm going to do another pattern on the next shape, which is the middle sized petal. So here I am finishing up my flower petals for the largest, and now I'm going to the middle and I'm making polka dots. We're going to assemble them all together and you'll see how it really pops. Because I'm making 4 identical flowers, I'm doing the same design on each size. If you want to make 4 different type of designs on every single petal, then go for it. That's using your creative side. So now I'm placing my large petal leaves on my iguana artwork, and I'm spacing them out the way I want them. And I'm gluing the largest petal down to the background with a little bit of a glue stick right in the center of the petal. Now I'm taking the middle size and doing the same. I keep adding a little glue to the middle of the petal and putting it down onto the bigger one. And then you're going to finish it up by putting the small petal on top of the flower. So you're layering it so that it has dimension, and it will look 3-dimensional if you fold up some of the leaves. I decided I wanted a little yellow dot in the middle of my flower. So there you go. There's my finished iguana with the 4 purple flowers. So on my second iguana, I decided I only wanted 1 large pink flower. You can use whatever color colored paper you want, but fold it into 4s. So we end up with 4 layers of petals, but these petals are going to be all the same, and I'll show you why. So here I'm drawing a flower with a circle and then some I'd say like ovals coming out, and you can do the same with your pen or pencil and drawing it on one side of your folded paper. Then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to take your time and cut the whole thing out. Remember, turn the paper, not the scissors. That's how you cut something out. It's much easier and you'll get a cleaner edge. And it takes practice. Just take your time slowly moving around the paper. If you feel like this is too difficult, maybe only make 4 petals. It'll look just as good. All right, just about finishing up here, and once I get done, I'm going to now separate, and I should have 4 equal flowers. And we're going to layer these on top of each other, moving the petals ever so slightly so there's a petal in between each one, and I'll show you that. I also decided to have a yellow center for my flower, and I Did that with a piece of scrap paper, and I made a circle and cut it out, moving the paper. And now I'm taking my glue stick and I'm going to put a little glue on the middle of the flower, then positioning the next layer of flowers right where the crack of the first layer is. And you're going to do that with each layer, moving it. And I used a pencil to roll up some petals to make it more three-dimensional. And you can do that layer by layer, and it makes it come right off the paper. It's pretty cool, making three-dimensional work. And then I put another little bit of glue and added my last layer, making sure it was in the middle of some of the petals, and then did the yellow dot, glued that in the middle, and then put some glue on the back. A lot of Generous held it there for 5 seconds, and I rolled a couple more petals, and my iguana with my decoupage green tissued background and a three-dimensional pink lily flower. Ta-da! I also added a smile and some eyelashes onto my beautiful iguana, and there is my finished, beautiful second version.
I hope you enjoyed Art with Miss A today, learning to do many different things, draw a chameleon, decoupage, and making three-dimensional flowers. Remember, if you can imagine it, you can make it, and you can change your world. Bye for now. Stay safe. Until next time.